Hans Wormhat. Here is a photo from the Australian fires. So there was an article. The title of the article was talking about how many total animals were killed. And they just throw out figures. You know, the experts always have some sort of figure to give out. But the bulk of this article is about koalas. In part of the article, they talk about, 9 people have died. That got about one sentence. But paragraphs and paragraphs talking about the poor koalas. And then they gave you this photo, which is clearly not a living, breathing animal, but a really bad stuffed one. It's just if they put it, I cropped this photo. They put it, they're like a severely burned koala is getting medical attention. They know that they can use a really bad looking one because they get you with the emotional impact. And this person here on the bottom has pinky out. It's one of their signs. Person up there pointing. But look, it's like a really badly taxidermied thing. It's like wool. Got dinosaurs. We've lost such a massive swath of known koala habitat that I think we can say without any doubt there will be ongoing declines in koala populations. Koalas are not real animals, they're animatronics. 9 people have died, and hundreds of homes have been razed to the ground during the unprecedented bushfire season. This was the only sentence talking about the 9 people who died, allegedly. So maybe that's real, and this is how the extent maybe that real news gets reported. You get one little sentence in some fluff article that talks about mostly koalas, fake stuff, and I don't know about the 9 people. All right, this is just a kind of mostly picking things from Reddit. I'm just going to say whatever comes to mind. Men who aren't that interested in professional sports, how do you fit in with other men? You know, free martins are obsessed with sports ball. Even people that you wouldn't expect, people that aren't sporty, they never really played sports, there still will be at least one sport that they follow, one professional sport. I really don't watch it, never been interested. Even if people aren't interested in any professional sport, it's like then they'll be into computer games, like professional computer games. It's just very rare to find people that don't follow any sort of competitive scene. Maybe they'll be into pro poker playing, and it seems like they always idolize people. You're not supposed to idolize people. They're all false idols, Baphomet worshippers, inverts. And I can just say from personal experience, I never was one to look up to people like that. I always just figured at the end of the day, people are people. You're just a person. You know, just because you're famous for doing something, you're still just a person. That's just the way that I've always kind of approached it. And maybe it is one of those ye shall know them by their fruits things. People really are idol worshippers. Of course, as always, tons of fake outer space fantasy land. If you have to come up with artistic renditions like this that look like sci-fi, it's because it's a bunch of BS sci-fi. Artistic impression. Apparently, Betelgeuse star has been dimming. Over the last few weeks, the bright reddish star in the constellation Orion has dimmed to the faintest it's been in a century. So the lies that they tell us about outer space fantasy land are that the scales of distance are too big for you to understand. The scales of time are too big for you to understand, but reality doesn't match that. Look, things are changing in 100 years, in a century. And keywords here, astronomers have been buzzing. Buzzing, it's a bee, it's a hive reference, meaning it's like that. This really is something that's happening. The star is getting dimmer, and so the hive is buzzing with excitement because they get to throw out their own BS different reasons for why this is going on. And then one of them will just get whatever gets adopted by the system. That'll be the new thing. Um, Social media speculating what might be going on. The big question on everyone's mind is whether the star is about to go supernova. No, these people, they know that it's a bunch of BS. They just have to keep this looming fear in the background. And none of them, they'll play into that. Oh, maybe it's gonna explode. They love telling spooky campfire stories about outer space land. Beetlejuice, brighten and dim again and again for over a century. They try to make it seem like for over 100 years. But wait, how does that make sense? For over 100 years, it's been getting bright and dim and bright and dim. I thought that outer space fantasyland stuff is supposed to be these huge time scales. Why is it getting bright and dim over 100 years? Many, many times. And then they give a BS reason for it. They can just come up with whatever they want. Remember, what is going on? They're observing light in the sky. And you really believe that they can tell you all of these things just because they can look at light in the sky? Or do you think that somebody's BSing you? So here, I'll just read this. Bubbles of material rise from inside the star to its surface and sink back down, changing the mix of hotter and cooler stuff. Ooh, very, very official. Cooler stuff on the star's surface. What does that remind you guys of? Bubbles of material rise from inside the star to its surface and sink back down. It's a lava lamp. Somebody's just giving you a lava lamp, turning a lava lamp into some BS story about what's going on, why it's getting bright and dim. When the answer is space balls don't exist. It's something in the firmament. It's an object inside the firmament. Every night it was fainter. It's because these things, space balls, aren't real. Oh, is it about to blow? We don't know. And notice that they get to make up the story. So they always make up a story where you're right on the cusp. We're always waiting for the big one, the big earthquake. Yellowstone is just about to explode. How can every single thing be on the cusp at the same time? It doesn't. It's because they're selling you a story. Based on its mass, how can you find out the mass of a light? How does that work? And then they'll give you, just because they can punch numbers into equations, no, it doesn't make sense. According to Guinan, Betelgeuse is probably between 8 and 9 million years old, and it's supposed to go supernova when it's roughly 9 million years old. Oh, what do you know? It's on the cusp, guys. Get scared. Guinan. Like the Star Trek character. Moving on to something different, so much stuff around you is just a bunch of BS. And thankfully, a lot of it does get called out if you look for it. Here, autism is so funny. Look how this person claims that their autistic son put the letters together like that, and the mom realized, oh, they put them together just like the book. They're trying to claim that their autistic child has like photorealistic memory. I don't believe in that. That's a bunch of BS. And they like to play up those stories. There's a lot of art fraud. What people use a projector and literally trace out a skyline thing, and then they stick a mentally handicapped person in front of their thing, and they say, here, look like you're drawing it, and then they sell you a story. People call it out. I feel like this is a that happened moment. Just a few slides from showing how psychotic people are around you, and the people that act this way, ye shall know them by their fruits. Nobody wants to admit that these inverted people act like freaks. So a child is playing on their Switch, on their computer, or their Nintendo game. Heard her move. Mom, am I keeping you up? I asked her. No, she replied. Literally like 10 minutes later, she goes, oh my god, I can't do this. I have to get sleep. All angry like, Mom, you said I wasn't keeping you up. I didn't know your no meant yes. And this just reminds me, so many people act like this, and Jesus talked about this. Let your no mean no, and your yes mean yes. And a lot of people do act backwards in today's place. In Earth, up is down, black is white. My mom cleans the house and she's like, you guys never help me. Today I asked her if she wanted help and she said no. Then half an hour later, she's like, I always have to do everything in this house. Gaslighting and the way people act, they're psychos. She doesn't care if she has a right to complain. She'll complain nonetheless. She'll throw away the trash when the bin is empty or clean something that's already clean just so she could complain. Ye shall know them by their fruits. I mean, it's whatever. It's just complaining about tears. People get treated like crap, though. And I remember my family wasn't. I don't, okay, they did do psyops on me, and I probably was physically abused and stuff, but as far as being forced to do chores and then being psychologically abused about, oh, you missed a spot here, I don't know, I didn't go through a lot of that, but it's very, very common, and it's just because you're surrounded by a bunch of sick freaks. Moving on to something completely different, I guess I'm just not in the mood to talk about bad people today. Can a shadow be smaller than the object? Smaller than the projection of the object in position it stands? No. Smaller than the object itself, for example, a vertical pencil standing on end, illuminated from a light source whose rays are parallel to the pencil, will cast a little circle shadow, you know. So what they're saying is, okay, sure, because when you're casting a shadow, you're just getting a 2D projected image of a 3D object. So, you know, the shadow can be smaller than a pencil, but it can't be smaller than a 2D projection of the pencil. So you still get a circle, like the size of the eraser, the thickness of the pencil. So here we go. Simple perspective laws assume the parallel pencils of light will cast a shadow equal to the mathematical projection of the object in such position. Blah, 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 blah. With its edges. Oh, okay. I mean, they could have said this a little cleaner. And to assume that converging rays could cast a shadow smaller than the projection is wrong. Converging rays would strike the object and would be converging no more, so the shadow will be the same size of the projection with its edges blurred. And, okay, I mean, if you don't know where this is headed, we've been having a lot of solar eclipses, a lot of big solar eclipses right across America, west to east. And then 7 years from then, we're going to have one going east to west. And I guess we just had another big solar eclipse. The thing about solar eclipse that proves NASA wrong, it's the shadow thing. You cannot cast a shadow that is smaller than what the object is, than the 2D, you know, projected image of the object. If you have an orange and you cast a shadow on the orange, you can't make your shadow smaller, like the size of a grape. That's just the point that I'm trying to make. And you just go play around with this. Get a light, get an orange, go in a dark place, start playing with shadows. Try to make your shadow smaller. Try to take your orange and give it a shadow the size of a grape. It's not possible. The width of the path of totality is usually about 160 kilometers, which is about 99 miles. But then they tell you that the moon is 1,000 miles. You can't cast a 90-mile shadow from an object that's 1,000 miles. And the obvious answer is, none of that is how this works. I don't know how it works. Enoch talks about there being chambers inside the heavens. That's very possible. Look at this, though. That's not real life. That's not real life. It's a bunch of bullshit. Pluto is on Pluto. What are the chances? What they're giving you is this. They just give you a diagram. Just because somebody can draw a diagram doesn't mean that's how real life works. You cannot cast a shadow that's smaller than the object. You cannot do it. This umbra, penumbra stuff, this is a little bit of magic. This is a little bit of runes, sigil work. Because look at what this is. This shape right here, it's the sigil of Lucifer. They're casting a spell on you. Alright, so I kind of rambled along, and skipped a bunch of stuff, but I wanted to just put a video out. God bless everybody.